Hi, welcome everybody. It's Mike Newton down here at Lytham Golf Academy. We've got a comparison video for you today. So we've just seen my review videos of the new Titleist irons, the T range, as well as the CB and the MBs. So this particular video here, I'm going to compare the new T100 against the AP2 718. So we're going to see how the new iron is performing, if anything better than the AP2, or if we actually see any difference of performance. We're going to have a look at that in this particular video. Right, okay guys, so I'm going to start off with the 718 AP2 iron to start with. So clearly a very successful iron for Titleist. One of the most played irons on tour with their Titleist staff players was the AP2. So a very tough one to sort of follow with a new iron coming out. Now, the Titleist were very keen for me to sort of maybe not say the T100 is complete replacement to AP, but it very much sits in this sort of area, so it's hard not to, and I think it's easy to relate to because we know AP2 for so long, so many years it's been AP2, hasn't it? So it's a bit easier for us to maybe understand as the replacement to this. So T100 is replacing really AP2 in my eyes. So this is 34 degrees of loft, and we're going to get this first one hit. Yeah, that's beautiful. We know AP is good. It feels fantastic. Forged face. You know, we all know it performs really well. We've got that tungsten in there, which we're sort of seeing in the T100. I think the interesting one for me, maybe to look at, I'm not guessing I'm going to see a massive difference of performance possibly here. But what Titleist is saying is the T100 has got a very thin face, so we might see some more ball speed possibly. That's the bit I'm sort of more interested in sort of looking at, but also maybe a bit more of a consistency side of things in terms of its performance as well. Oh, just pulled that one a little bit. So I'm going to use the same shaft in both of these clubs. I've got the heads at 2 degrees upright, so the spec wise this is going to be exactly the same between the two comparisons. That's a better one. Yeah, beautiful feel, beautiful sound off that club face. So I think what would be interesting one to see is on tour. So obviously, as I said, AP2 was the most played iron on tour. It'd be interesting to see if the players switch pretty quickly into T100. I think that always proves or shows us how much better possibly a product is if this tour players switch pretty quickly into it. Yeah, lovely. That's nice. Okay. So 3 real solid ones, one a little bit of a pull there. Tell you what, we'll just hit one more, hit 5 shots. Strike again, just slightly pulled again. Just catch that left edge. Yeah, see those pulls just go that little bit further, don't they? So we've got to take that into account. Okay, right, so there's 5 shots hit with the 718 AP2. Let's move into the new T100 and see how that stacks up against this. Right, okay, so the new T100 in this particular shaft here now. So again, 7.9 and again 34 degrees of loft. So the loft's exactly the same here, but obviously we've got that little bit of difference of the technology with that thinner club face that we're sort of seeing, and a little bit of a different sole that we're also seeing. So just one quick note, as you look at the pictures on the screen as I put them up there, you'll see like a lump of metal on the back section of the hose. I did mention this in my review video. Please ignore that because this is a fitting iron. So for a fitting iron to get the screw in, obviously they've got to put a hole through the hosel, which obviously removes the weight. So they've had to add that weight to the back there in the T100 just to sort of get the head weight back through a fitting process really. So when you come to buy them, you will not have that lump of weight that's sat on the back of that hosel. So just as long as you're aware of that. So putting this down by the golf ball, the looks are very, very similar. If anything, I probably prefer the look of the T100. It just seems to be a little bit more rounded in that sort of toe section, not quite square looking. So it's very, very similar to be in all honesty, but it just looks to be a little bit of a nicer shape to my eye. That's a nice shot. Very similar, first instincts there, very similar sound, very similar feel off that club face. No real sort of differences of the way that ball comes off. As I say, we're seeing, well, what Titleist is saying is a thinner face. So how much ball speed that's going to create against the AP2, obviously we're going to find out in a minute, but we know that strike can obviously play a part of that equation as well. Feels great. Feels really nice. Good flight. They look to be flying a little bit further there, aren't they? It'd be interesting to sort of see. Don't feel like I'm swinging any quicker there, but we might just have a little look at that. First instincts there, they just seem to be just flying a little bit further. Really nice off the club face there. Again, just a fraction on that left side. Yeah, and again, it's a little bit slight pulley, so we always know they're going to go further, but that has gone quite a bit further, hasn't it? So instincts here, it looks like we're going to see a little bit more ball speed possibly. That's good. Hit the green nicely there. Nicely sort of pin high. Okay, let's get one more shot hit. That's a nice one to finish on. Great feel. Hitting that green. Seems to get a little bit more out of it possibly, but let's go look at some numbers in a little bit more detail and see how that new T100 is stacking up against the 718 AP2. Okay, so moment of truth. Let's see what is actually happening here. So AP2 on the top, see 120.4 ball speed, 122.2. So there we go. There's just under 2 mile an hour more ball speed there with the T100 on this particular test. Launching identical at 17.5 and spin pretty much identical around that sort of 6,600 mark. So decent spin number with both, just that little bit more ball speed, which is sort of what Titleist is saying. It's a thinner face, they're expecting more ball speed. And again, strike will play a part of that. But we are definitely seeing that in this particular sort of test here. So fraction higher on the peak height, 1 yard higher, and literally 3 yards in it. So it's not a huge amount, huge difference, which we wouldn't expect it to be, because we've still got the tungsten in there. We've just got a slightly thinner face, but we're still at 34 degrees of loft for both of these irons. So we're not expecting one to fly further. And Titleist don't want that. You know, they're still wanting that control, because AP2 area and obviously the T100 is that tour inspired sort of for that better player who wants that consistency and that sort of control of that ball flight, you know, out on the golf course. Okay guys, so there we go, there's a new T100 against the AP2. So for me, two very, very good irons. Maybe a question to you, if you're owning AP2s at the moment, would you upgrade to the T100? Post your comment down below, let me know your thoughts. I think if it was me, 2 mile an hour is quite nice to have, but 3 extra yards, that doesn't change much for me in all honesty. So I know I've got a great iron in AP2, I probably wouldn't switch. Maybe if you've got an older model, you saw a difference of performance, or you've games progressed and you may be moving away from that AP3 area, possibly looking to upgrade as your ball striking gets better than T100, I think is a very good option for you to go and obviously have a look at. So post comments down below, as always, love to hear your thoughts with the new Titleist range. I have done the review of the full T series irons, again link will be up there, you can go and check that out a little more in depth, as well as a review for the CB and the MB in the new 690 range. So appreciate you watching as always. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Very much appreciated. Trying to grow a channel as much as I possibly can. So with your help, that would be very much appreciated. And hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.